Welcome to the Reroute segment. I am super honored and excited to be able to spend some one-on-one with all of you. I know I've been like bouncing in and out today, but the energy, you guys have had so much great energy, and all of the strategists from this morning have really been amazing. So if you don't mind, in the chat box, send me an emoji of just like how you're feeling right now. It can be an emoji and a word. I just want to hear like so far what has reset, helped you think about, has made you feel. I love being able to see stuff like that. So make sure, if you can, just in the chat box, give me a thumbs up, give me a heart, give me something, because I want to be able to feel the positive vibes from where you are right now or wherever you are streaming from. So today we're going to be talking a little bit about rerouting, because I think we're all rerouting right now, and this is the perfect opportunity just to have some dialogue and swap tips. If you have tips and things that you're doing to help pivot, please put those in the chat box as well, because I think this is all about collectively strategizing together. So yes, I'm on this side. However, your opinions and your thoughts are equally important. So put that in the chat box below, and I will be sure to comment when I can, or follow up with you if you would like me to do so. So when I talked about rerouting a few weeks ago, it kind of got me to thinking about the whole concept of a GPS, right? We have our destination, we trust that this system is going to get us to our destination, our next point. And then what happens when we miss a turn? Or we didn't miss a turn, but we show up to where the GPS told us to go and the destination is not there. We kind of panic for a hot second, like, wait a minute, what do you mean? Hold on. Without even thinking about, wait a minute, this is fine. The GPS is going to recalculate and it's going to tell me where to go. And I think a lot of times when we strategize and we plan for the year, especially like with vision boards and all those things that kind of, are intentionally supposed to keep us accountable for what we want to accomplish, what happens when those plans get derailed? Like what's happened this year? Now, not for all of us. Some people, your 2020 has still been kind of on pace. You're still hitting your goals. That's amazing. Continue to crush those goals, because that is super important, and it's really inspiring to see people who are still able to get out there, get it done, and that's amazing. For some of us, including myself, this year looked very different than what I had planned. It wasn't initially, I didn't plan for any of this. I didn't plan, just like you didn't plan, but we have to be willing to take a moment to understand that it wasn't anything we could have done differently, but we need to be able to pivot in order to still get our goals and the things that we need to get accomplished. So when I started thinking a little bit about how did I start to get back on plan, because when this all first transpired, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of panicked for a little while. I found myself also kind of like frozen, because I wasn't really sure what to do. And that was like probably the first time in my life in a long time that I didn't know what to do. And when you have a personality like that, where you're constantly feeling like you have to have the solution all the time, or a lot of people look to you for answers, it does put a lot of pressure on ourselves. And for many years, I've been able to manage that pressure and just feeling like, okay, this is just what has to happen. I have to push through. That was the first time that I really felt that I couldn't manage. I couldn't handle everything that was happening. I'm a mom of 3 and a wife. I run a nonprofit organization. I also am a freelance consultant for a company called True Print for Business, which you'll learn more about, and real estate, all of these things. And suddenly everything just overnight just stopped, and so many people were affected by that stopping, and I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to help. I didn't know how to homeschool. I didn't know how to be supportive of just the transitions. I just really had a hard time navigating through when everything with COVID and the pandemic first happened. I think I was like that for probably a solid week, maybe even 2 weeks, in full transparency. And I want to be transparent because I think there's power in being transparent. I think it's power in being vulnerable, especially in leadership. It's important for us to be able to, manage our emotions. It's important for us to, constantly come from a tactical and a strategic way. But I think that when we go through life making it seem like we always have it figured out, you don't give people the opportunity to feel comfortable when they fail. So as leaders, as parents, as partners, we want to hide the bad stuff. We want to hide the ugly stuff. We want to hide the stuff that's uncomfortable, because in our minds, those are things that we're slightly ashamed about. We feel like, oh, I shouldn't have done it that way. And what I've learned, especially as a parent, my kids always felt really hard on themselves when they didn't achieve a goal or they missed something. And it wasn't because necessarily that they didn't, do what they set out to do. They felt like they had failed me or their father. And it took me some time to really understand, because I had sheltered them from our struggles. I had sheltered them from not understanding that we didn't have enough money to pay certain bills. I didn't even, when you put your card in the gas pump and you just pray it goes through, I didn't allow them to see those moments. So in their minds, we were always winning. So when they would have a failure or a shortcoming, they took it in such a way because they were like, well, my parents, they've never experienced this. I've never seen them fail. So how dare I fail? And when my oldest mentioned that to me one day, she said, Mom, you don't know what it's like to fail. I instantly recognized that I had failed. I had failed in being transparent with her about true leadership. And so I say that to say, as leaders, we have to be transparent with our teammates and our family members about what we need, because we are human. Yes, we are able to make decisions. Yes, we're able to strategize. Yes, we have, emotional maturity, but we are human at the end of the day, and we also need to be replenished. We also need to be able to create a space safe enough around people that truly value you, people that are truly vested in you, in an environment that's truly mixed of like positive and just like that positive energy. You know what I'm talking about. You've experienced places where you walk in and you're like, wow, this is authentic energy, and places that you've been like, I don't know what's happening up in here, but I want to go. So you have felt what a good environment has felt like, and you have felt possibly a negative, very toxic environment. And I think in leadership, and whatever that looks like to you, we have to be transparent about what we need, and we have to be comfortable with being vulnerable enough to ask for what we need. Because at the end of the day, we can't give, we can't serve, we can't effectively lead if our vessels are empty. And so on your worksheet, you're actually going to find a question that talks a little bit about who is your personal advisory board. And for many years, I didn't ever think about that, but every corporation, every nonprofit, every group, they have like this core group of members that come together to strategize about the company's goals, the organization's outcomes, tools, tips. How do we get there? How do we help these entities be the best versions of themselves? It's no different with you and me. We need that same type of strategy and that same type of energy in order for us to be effective in our authentic selves. So I challenge you to identify those individuals that will be transparent with you about things that you need in order to truly hit the goals that you've identified. People that are going to be honest with you, not always just agree with you. You don't want people around you that are always going to say, that's a great idea. yes, you should do that. Even if it's the worst idea ever, you need people that are going to be honest with you and truly, but not in a way that it's all negative and they're not being helpful. You can think back about people who are like, man, you just always have something negative to say. Don't fill your advisory board with people who are not where you're at or where you want to be. And I say that in a very respectful and humble way. And it's not about monetary status. It's not about, business titles. It's about attitude. It's about energy. It's about, how do they look? What is their perspective on life? What is their perspective on business? What is their perspective on family? You want a personal advisory team of people that truly like their core values are in alignment with your core values, but they're going to be able to kind of help you level up in different ways that you may not be able to see for yourself because you're in the grind every single day. But having those key people that you're able to share, this is what I want to do, this is how I think I want to be able to accomplish those things. Will you help keep me accountable? And will you provide me, constructive feedback, strategies, and tools along the way? So those are the type of people when I say, picking with purpose. Don't just pick people. Don't just dive your biggest dreams, your heartaches onto anybody, because not everybody should be trusted with something so special. We have to start being as picky about our circle as we are about what we eat or what we buy. That kind of energy is extremely, extremely important. So that was one of your questions, thinking about who is your personal advisory team and what that could look like. And when I kind of think about that personal advisory team, especially with everything that's happened with COVID-19, I find myself like, because the world went digital so quickly, I think we've also started to learn, we started the dynamics of parameters and boundaries, in my opinion, are starting to get a little blurry. I'm getting requests for meetings at all hours of the day. My work days were already a little crazy before, but that was okay. I was comfortable with that because I still, it was a level of craziness that I was expecting. But now this seems a little different. And kind of what I may not mean, where you're just like one call after another, and you're just like, why am I on all of these calls? Is this truly necessary? And is it pulling me away from the things that I should be spending my time and giving my energy to? So in the next question, you're gonna find, what are your non-negotiables? When you think about, what is something that I'm just not willing to negotiate on? Because I think once you start identifying what your non-negotiables are, you'll be able to start turning down unnecessary meetings, unnecessary conversations, unnecessary, headache, because you're like, this is not in alignment with these things that I have listed here. And those non-negotiables may change quarterly, they may change annually. For me, just to give you an example of one of my non-negotiables, I don't take meetings before 9 a.m. I just don't. And it's not because I'm sleeping in, it's not to be, I just like to be able to spend time with my kids in the morning, even before COVID-19. I've been fortunate enough to be able to take my kids to school every single morning. That's like my time with them, because I know my day is about to be smacked with so many things. But I like to be able to ride in the car with them without interruption. School doesn't typically start till 9. The older one a little earlier than that. So just being able to have those wee hours of the morning dedicated to, hey, you're gonna have a great day. Hey, we didn't get to finish talking about this from yesterday. Did you eat breakfast? Do you have what you need for the day? I am able to be completely in mom zone for those hours in the morning. As soon as I drop them off, I wish them well. I feel good about the fact that I had that time with them in the car. Then I can transfer into Christina as the CEO, Christina as the business owner, Christina as the real estate agent, because now I've been able to, mark off my non-negotiable, and I'm honoring my schedule, and I would expect to honor someone else's schedule. So for me, that is one of my non-negotiables. So identifying some of your non-negotiables, I do think will help clear up your schedule. And I think people either have to respect it or they don't. But you don't have to bend, what's most important to you to accommodate other people all the time. Now, here and there, if something comes up and it's truly an emergency and it can't be, moved any other kind of way, that's understandable, but every day cannot be like that. You have to have structure. You have to have your way of just making sure that you are staying connected with the things and the people that are most important to you. Because as much as you work, as much as you are constantly doing different things, you have to remind yourself, why do you do all this? Why? Who's it for? What's the purpose? And so having clearly defined non-negotiables, I think will help you in figuring that out. My next point I want to talk a little bit about is, time management. And so kind of going into the non-negotiables, really looking at your day. Where are you spending most of your time? Even with COVID, like I said, with the back-to-back meetings, you're homeschooling, you're doing 20,000 different things. If you're working from home or if you're still working in an office, how are you managing that if you do have, children at home? So spend a day just journaling down your full day. Start from the moment you wake up, approximately what time you started, what time you ended, because I think there's power in knowing, did I maximize my time today? Did I have a lot of downtime where I could have been doing something that, was either on my goal list or something that was for me, for my mental health or my physical health? Because oftentimes I hear the whole, I don't have enough time, it's just not enough time, I'm running out of time. And it's like, how much time did you spend on social media today? I say it because I do it. I do it too. I'm not judging. This is a judge-free zone. I'm not judging you. But that quick little scroll of your timeline easily can turn into 20 minutes times 4 times that day. That's an hour. That's an hour collectively that you have spent on Facebook or any other social media app. And that could have been the hour that you spent doing meditation or looking at your finances or eating a meal. Because I know I used to be queen for I didn't have time to eat today. If you had time to do all these things, you had time to eat today, you just didn't make it a priority. And I'm not shaming anyone. I say these things because I have these conversations with myself. I'm just simply sharing with you what I have learned and observed about me. So take the time to journal your day. Might be a little tedious up front, but I think it's really, really powerful in saying, okay, did I maximize my time? Because that, to me, time is precious. If I have learned anything with everything that's happened with COVID and the losses of so many amazing people, especially in the past couple days, time is something we can't get back. It's something that oftentimes doesn't get the respect that it needs. So really being able to look at your schedule, look at where you're spending most of your time, and making sure that those activities, those commitments are truly in alignment with who you are, what you want to accomplish, and where you're going. So that's my tip on the time management piece. And once you start seeing that, I think your subconscious will start just kind of bringing certain things to the forefront that you may have never thought about. Because until I started tracking my time, I didn't really realize how much time I was spending on social media. So for me, I had to take it off of my cell phone, and actually ended up having a second phone. Long story, but the point of the story, the new phone, I never downloaded those apps. So it's still on the old phone. When I have a free moment and I remember to bring the old phone, I can still scroll when I really truly have time, but it's no longer on my primary phone. So I have If you're Facebooking me, it may be a few days before I see it, because I am no longer carrying that distraction with me every day. And I call it a distraction because for me, it is. And for others, it may be your business, it might be how you do business. So when you're disciplined to separate those tools for what they're, part of what the intention of those tools were for, then that's amazing. And I think you should share with us like how you are able to do that. But for others, if you find that it is in fact a distraction, you have to be willing to put in the work and the sacrifice to remove that out of your everyday, just your process of waking up, scrolling, taking breaks, scrolling. Like, that scroll time equals a lot of wasted time that you could have done something for you. So that's part of the stress and the time management that I wanted to also mention. I also wanted to talk to you a little bit about, like our timelines. Like, we already are in September. And so I know this year may feel like, I didn't really get as much done. We still have time. We have about 4 months. So, the next 100 days are going to be extremely critical to wrapping up this year and really setting yourself up for a strong first quarter. So I think Roland mentioned this earlier on. The next 100 days, that is what you focus on. Don't focus on the whole pie. Let's just strategize for the next 100 days. So when you're doing your non-negotiables, your time management, I want you to look at, for the next 100 days, what is that going to look like for you? I want you to create a personal and a professional goal for the next 100 days. If you have a planner, put it in your planner. If you don't have a planner, just put it in your cell phone. Open your calendar. Just like we put appointments in there, I actually put goals and tips and things in my calendar so that I don't forget. So just like an appointment reminder would pop up, a goal reminder will pop up. And that's what I use to kind of go back and forth to check to see, am I doing what I need to be doing? So for the next 100 days, sit down and map that out. Does that mean I'm going to, check on my finances for the next 100 days? Am I going to, look at my business plan? And am I going to look at, what services can I contract? How do I get the kids through, virtual learning? Figure out what your non-negotiables are, and then strategize towards those non-negotiables for the next 100 days. And then when you hit those 100 days, that 100th day, strategize for the next 100 days. I think if anything I have learned, I have to stop always planning for such a large amount of time, because overnight, as we know with COVID-19, all of that could change. And I don't want to get so attached to the plan that when it doesn't happen, I'm not able to pivot, because we have to be able to pivot. So non-negotiables, time management, really diving deeper into how you're spending your time, your personal advisory board. Those are the individuals that are going to also help ensure that you are hitting your goals and that you're on track for a solid first quarter and wrapping up this year as strong as you possibly can. Give yourself grace. Everything that has happened, we couldn't have planned for. If your year is still going good, keep going. Not everybody has had the same effects of COVID-19, and that's okay. But for those that have had a hard time and have had some negative impacts, this is an opportunity for you to say, okay, I couldn't have controlled any of that, but I can control the next move, because I'm going to create strategy that makes sense for where I'm at, not where I had on my vision board that I was supposed to be. So give yourself grace and recognizing that some things may look different, but you just got to keep going. You have to keep going, but being kind to yourself. When I say keep going, it's more of not, it's from the standpoint of you have to continue to push yourself. Pause, think, strategize, and be ready to jump back into the game. But don't push yourself on empty. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, find someone that you can talk to. If your health is not in check, do a doctor's appointment. The good thing is now with telehealth, before everything froze down, you couldn't even get into a doctor's appointment. Now you can with telehealth. They have telehealth for mental health experts, your primary doctors, even if it's a friend or someone that you trust that you just need to kind of, have a nice fluid conversation with, schedule that. Because like I said, you have to be able to recognize when something is not in alignment with you. At the end of the day, we can achieve all the goals and dreams that we want, but if we're not happy and we're not healthy and we're not with the people that we love and that matter most to us, then what was it worth it? Was all of this worth it? I don't think that it was. And so I just say all that to say that I want you to live a purposeful life. In leadership, yes, we serve others. Yes, we always have to be ready to jump into something even though we're not fully sure of the outcome. But we also have to be leaders and advocates for ourselves, because just as quickly as someone needs us for something and we're ready to jump in, we have to be willing to say, okay, something is not right and I need to get it right. So there's power in being transparent. There's power in asking for help. So having that personal advisory group that I talked about is going to be those individuals that are also going to help keep you accountable. Because the biggest thing about leadership, outside of, the things I mentioned earlier with being able to create strategy, being able to, provide tips and tools and being adaptable, is the fact that you're able to really ride the waves when they're low. Because your leadership, let me tell you, it's not going to be tested when everything is great. True leadership is tested when everything is going wrong. That's when your leadership is really, the authentic leader in you will shine or fail depending on how you're truly structured. When things are not going right and you are not able to be calm and you're not able to be tactful and you're not able to be respectful and lead with grace, people will remember that. And it's imperative that if you're going to take on the role of leading a company or leading your household or just whatever that looks like for you, that you're taking the time to be your authentic self and you're taking the time to replenish yourself in a way so that when it's game time, you are able to give the situation what it needs. So like I said, be willing to ride those lows so that when you climb back to those highs, you're able to say, listen, this was not easy. It wasn't easy, still not easy. I'm gearing up for a second round of homeschooling. I love educators. I have my sister's an educator. I have friends that are educators. So I've always respected educators. But I tell you what, I have a whole different level of appreciation and respect for educators after, having to homeschool my kids all these months. And so, I'm gearing up for that. I'm gearing up to wrap up fourth quarter, the best that I can digitally for the most part. But the point is that I'm in the game. I feel good. I feel in alignment. And I want you to be able to have that and to be able to share that with others. And understanding that once you feel right and things are starting to move in the way that they should move, your messaging will be clear, which will create clear expectations for the people around you, and then ultimately eliminates confusion. Because as a leader, if you are all over the place and your messaging is all over the place, everybody is going to be all over the place. And I recognize that. I recognize when I'm off and my team is asking me stuff and I'm trying to answer and I'm thinking about, what I'm going to make for dinner. Do the kids have that? And it's chaotic because they're like, Christina, I need you to listen to me. And I have to turn it off. And so when I am able to turn it off, and a big part of that falls into my evening routines, just being able to decompress, have that moment for myself, find out what your routines are, what brings you the most joy, relaxation, what rejuvenates you, and do that. Do it often. Do it as often as you can, because you need to be your fresh, authentic self in order to pour and to lead into others, especially, in companies or your household. So I say all that to say, find what works for you, find those routines that work for you, and implement them like every single day. It's hard work. eventually it will become a natural habit, but it's intentional, it's necessary, and it's the only real way that you'll be able to, you know, continue to play the roles that you need to play, but be healthy and be happy and be authentic in the process. So I hope this was helpful. You know, in your workbook, I have some writing prompts there. There's some additional things that I also want to highlight for you in there. So take a look at that. If you have any questions, you're always welcome to email me. If you want to have additional dialogue or any coaching about any of the things that I've talked about today, I would love the opportunity to get to know you a little more personally. So feel free to email me. Let me know, you know, how you're doing, how you're rerouting, and remember, just keep going. There's no solid, you know, blueprint to how all of this is supposed to work. The only thing that is solid is the importance of taking time for self and being, you know, what you need to be happy and healthy so that you can be authentically you. So continue to take care of yourself, continue to take care of others. And until we meet again, enjoy the rest of Reset, and I look forward to connecting with all of you very, very soon.